All right, welcome in everyone to the Lowdown Sports Show. This show is brought to you by the Basketball Podcast Network, presented by DraftKings. I'm your host Drew,
I'm BJ.
and we're here to get the lowdown on all things basketball. Today we've got a chock full show. Got some topics in the NBA, free agency going on, WNBA, talking about some of the news that's been happening, the divorce in Phoenix, and the success Wings players have had once they have left Dallas, as well as a pair of news segments, BJ's best and what's on Drew's mind. Drop in today, giving you guys a little bit of a preview of what's to come in season three as we add some new things along to the show.
Heck
But
yeah.
and of course, with it or quit it. BJ, you
Yes,
ready?
Drew. Yeah, let's do it, man. I'm excited.
All right, let's rock, man. All right, topic number one, sliding into the NBA. It is free agency season. Free agency opens up June 30th at 5. That's the official time there. And a lot of movement could be happening in this free agency period, BJ. It's not the strongest crop of free agents. Like the number one of the person you might say is the number one free agent is maybe Zach Levine here. So
Hmm.
that shows the lack of depth in this free agency pool here. There are some there's some key role players here. There's maybe some secondary guys to a championship team, but no real number ones out there. Just some co-stars and role players. BJ, what's the biggest bit of news for you? I know a constant thing that we've been hearing around the buzz of us as Mavericks fans talking about Jalen Brunson. He's one of those quote unquote top free agents this off season.
Yeah, Drew. I mean, you gotta when you look at it, it's not just Mavs fans. This really,
Yeah,
the
it's most
pursuit of
everybody.
Jalen Brunson has become a national talking point because of every move that the New York Knicks have made in their quest to get him.
Yeah,
And a lot of people around here have resigned the fact that he's likely gone. But obviously, we won't know for sure. There was talk when his dad joined the Knicks that he was gone then, and it certainly started to build up more steam. Uh, just last week on draft night when the Knicks were wheeling and dealing and making all the moves that they did to help clear up the cap space. They got rid of Kemba Walker. They got rid of pretty much every draft pick compensation. They traded for three first round picks with just one first round pick so that they could then use those picks to help offload more money in cap. And they're probably not done, Drew. There's going to be I would imagine they're going to be offloading another contract here before the free agency moratorium ends here in a week and all these moves can become official. So they're looking at right now, they're above the cap with about 31 million. I think that last check they'd cleared out. They might even be able to push that up to 35. They're going to offer Jalen Brunson as much as they can because they want him to be their guy. They want him to be
yeah,
the one that runs the offense and helps get the ball uh, to RJ Barrett and Obi Toppin and those guys. Obviously, I think they've got another. I'm trying to. My mind is blanking, but they've wanted Brunson. They have made that perfectly clear for quite a while, and so he really has become the big name, if you will, of this free agent class. It's not as star studded as certainly 2019's was,
right.
for instance, but there are some big time moves, and if you believe a lot of what you're hearing around here these days, the Mavericks pretty much when both sides decided not to continue talks, both sides pretty much figured that was going to be the end, even though it was during the season they were going to try to renegotiate. But it sounds, at least to me, that they had already decided he's about to leave and that he's not going to take anything we're going to offer him. I don't know if that's the case or not, but a lot of sources are saying that they expect him to leave, and that's why they went and made the trade for the Spencer Dinwiddie.
Nico's still optimistic. As he deserves to be. Nico's, 2 for 2 on his trades and his deals so far. So I admire the confidence, but yeah, there's a lot of feel around a lot of camps. Especially us. You've heard a lot in DFW and DFW radio that he's mostly, people are leaning towards he's going Knicks. It's usually like a 70% kind of lean right now. Nobody's really been any lower than that. Nobody's been like 60-40, 55-45, really kind of close. Like it still go either way. Most people are 70% and above. And when you're at this point, it's pretty much kind of automatic to where he's gonna go. I mean, there's still that optimism that he loves Dallas so much. They were just in the conference finals. That experience. What could they do next year with him? Tim
Yeah,
back, adding Christian Wood. I know that's in the back of his head. Yeah, and he was originally drafted here, and some of that's got to hold some weight. And
yeah,
that part about him having another gear possibly in New York, that I do see that Jalen can continue growing. I don't think he necessarily has to do it to be doesn't have to be the guy to grow like that, because
yeah,
he's been able to grow at his own pace so far. In most improved player talks casually the past couple of years, with how his improvements gone, and you saw it in those 4 playoff games without Luka Doncic, how he was able to
yeah,
kind of keep the ship afloat, that he can ball, and that he can continue to develop his game. He is kind of an old school point guard type of player, and he plays at his pace. Not necessarily the same way Luka does, but his own pace to a degree. But you're right, Jalen. They want him to be the guy in New York. His dad's over there. Um, but pose the question. I heard some of these questions this morning. Like, how's that going to work? Like, if they're keeping Julius Randle, and this is a
hmm
three-headed monster here, cool. But that hasn't seemed to be the vibe kind of out in New York. Julius Randle, second team All NBA in 2021.
yeah,
I don't see why. I mean, after kind of a down year for not just him, but kind of the whole team, I don't know about giving up on it, especially if you want to add a guy like Brunson. Like, don't get rid of pieces to add another one, because Brunson's not ever going to be an All NBA player. He'll be lucky if he's an All Star. So, I mean, making Brunson the guy is probably a little bit too much of a stretch there. I think the guy, no matter what, whether the Knicks say it or not, is going to be R.J. Barrett
yeah.
at the end of the day. So if anything, Jalen Brunson will be a 1B out in New York to R.J.
Well,
Barrett's 1A.
and
And if
that
they keep
poses the
Julius Rand,
question. I
poses
was
what?
just going to say that poses the question: if he's going to be 1B out in New York, does that really change what he is here in Dallas as a a 1A 1B, or maybe 1-2, but not that necessarily, you know not to talk bad about Jalen Brunson or anything like that. But when you've got a player that has the talent that Luka Doncic does, obviously he's going to get the majority of the spotlight. If that's the Knicks plan, or needs to be the Knicks plan, what's going to change if he goes to New York? There's going to be more attention on him in New York as a result of just the way that media market is.
Yeah,
He's going to get more attention because they are going to spend all this money to bring him in. He's going to be the focal point, whether he should be or not. And so, you know, I heard this, and I wanted your thoughts on this. He would be, recognized for having big games in Dallas and in New York. But if he has a bad game, he's going to hear a lot more talk in New York if he has a bad game, as opposed to him having a bad game or in Dallas, and the tension's going to go to Luca and talk like that. So, I mean, that's really the question that I think, he needs to ask himself. Maybe he doesn't like the money that the Mavs are going to give him, and that's fine, and that's the reason that he ends up deciding that he wants to go to New York, or he wants to be a part of the staff now that they brought his dad on. I can understand that too. But if he's wanting to be the guy, if the Knicks are propping him up to be the guy, is he ready for that amount of scrutiny and criticism? Because it's going to come. The Knicks fans are going to
Yeah.
criticize the move and criticize anytime he has a bad game. They're going to be less forgiving if he has a good game. So that's what I think is the big thing to worry about.
Yeah, and because of partially that scrutiny, I feel like Dallas is the better situation no matter what. I mean, he's gonna get at least 25 mil either way because he's not gonna
Hmm.
be the number one anything here, and it's questionable to say whether he is definitively the second best player or not when he's if he stays because addition of Christian Wood, Jalen Brunson
Yeah,
versus Tim Hardaway. Some people lean one way or the other. I'd personally lean Brunson, but still him versus Christian Wood, who is the two there? Does it kind of stay the same part of the pecking order for him? And he still gets
yeah,
the same money. Like he's still going to get
yeah,
probably 25 million. Dallas is going to give him, I believe we're saying, 100 uh, or 135 million 5 years or something like that is the
yeah. I
most they
think
could give
that's
him.
and I think the Knicks were wanting to go full max, which is 4 110.
Right. So I mean, you stay here, you stay comfortable, you continue growing at the pace that you're growing, which is fine.
Hmm.
Possibly run it back to the conference finals or the finals and see what
Yeah,
happens there. Because
that's
I think
another
that
point. Which team is closer to a championship at the end of the day? Is it the
right.
Knicks with Brunson, or is it the Mavericks with or without? I would argue. I think and I would think you would agree with me. That's probably Dallas at this point, just because
Yeah.
Dallas has Luka Doncic, New York does not.
Yeah. And Mavs been in the finals twice since they're, in the past decade.
Hmm.
Or, oh 06, 11. When was the last time the Knicks were in the finals? Been a while.
The '90s, maybe.
It's been a while. Was Jalen
Yeah,
Brunson born?
probably not. I'm
Probably
willing to bet no.
Probably not. And like you said, Dallas is closer to a championship. Knicks, they went from being kind of close the previous year to regressing. So, he's having to go out there and kind of help fix that. Maybe try to do it in a Chris Paul esque type way and elevate it to a playoff team again. Um, but why do that when you could just make the same amount of money, stay parked here, be in
Yeah,
Dallas, be happy, don't have to worry about that double pressure because not only is it about that pressure for him going to New York in general, just on him and the contract that he's going to sign, but like it's kind of double pressure. Like you went out there to play for your dad, and like you're both Knicks are bad, and you're also not playing well. Jalen Brunson, like yeah, Brunson guys getting ate up in the
yeah,
mecca out there, in New
yeah,
York. Would they be able to do that and
yeah.
handle that if things go sour? So, not only is it safe, I just think it's better overall for Jalen.
I do
Um,
too. I think well, you made the point that they were in the playoffs. I mean, you look just last year, both Dallas and New York were in the playoffs. Both got knocked out in the first round though, and the following year, Dallas gets to the Western Finals with Jalen
yeah,
Brunson. New York misses out entirely.
right.
So I don't know. I obviously neither one of us are in the headspace of Jalen Brunson, and we don't know what is the most important to him. But looking at it, with all these factors in, I know it's going to be a tough decision, and maybe he reconsiders and doesn't go to the Knicks, and then boy, if you cleared out all that and you don't get Jalen Brunson, as bad as it is now, meme wise for the Knicks, it's going to get a whole lot worse.
And question for you, BJ, as we
Okay.
transition off of Jalen Brunson. And continuing the free agency talk here, not leaving
Hmm.
anywhere. You guys are listening to the Lowdown. Uh, who will pay DeAndre Ayton and Miles Bridges? Where could those stars possibly go? Or up young upcoming stars, I should say. DeAndre Ayton, words of him possibly being unhappy in Phoenix. That could be a
Yeah.
nice young piece. A lot of places. Dallas could have been one of them, but we got our
Yeah.
center now. Where could Aiton go? Who could use his services right now? And is Miles Bridges going to stay in Charlotte and play there, or is Michael Jordan not going to want to pay him?
I think I'm trying to think. I think Miles Bridges is probably the more likely to stay put at this point. I know DeAndre Ayton is not happy. And, there was even going back to, before the Suns blew a 2-0 lead in the Western semis to the Mavericks, there was talk about, Ayton was wanting to, you know, take off and leave in the offseason. And the Mavs were talked about as one of those teams that didn't really have an interior presence. Um, I look around at some teams and I'm trying to think, where he might be a good fit, Drew? I think he
Right.
might be a good fit in Minnesota. I think Minnesota's
Okay.
got a really good young nucleus, and Aiton's got that playoff experience. He's been in the second round this year, was in the finals just last year. He's still young enough. If Minnesota, I don't know their cap situation. Obviously, that's going to be a big factor. You look at what some of the other teams that could afford him are doing, and they're not quite as close as the Timberwolves are.
If you're Minnesota and you have to offload D'Angelo Russell to get DeAndre Ayton, do you do it?
I would, yeah.
Okay. Have a little three-headed nucleus of DeAndre Ayton, Carl Anthony Towns, and Anthony Edwards.
Yeah,
That's interesting.
I think that's the future. If
But
they
is
were,
that
if
how much better is that team if you remove Russell, add Ayton? How many games better are they?
I would say at least
Mm.
4 to 5. I mean, that's a
Ooh.
yeah. I think that's the difference between them being
Mm.
in the play-in to being a
Yeah.
top six. I think
Ooh.
that's. I mean, you talk about how far the Suns will drop if Aiton leaves. You know, that's going to be the big question is whichever team gets Aiton, are they do they have enough talent around him to take that step up? I would think Minnesota does.
Yeah. I don't know though. I don't know if it makes him that much better. I think 5 games might be a stretch because you're saying he's that much better than D'Lo Russell is right now. Which I
I think
mean,
I think he
Aiden could.
adds a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, like he could. Yeah, I mean, he's gonna add different things for sure. Man, that's tough right there. That's
Yeah,
tough. I don't really know where else you would fit him in at as far as being able to pay him somewhere else, DeAndre Ayton. So
yeah,
that's probably the only likely situation. But you probably have to get rid of a guy like D'Lo Russell. You're not
hmm
getting rid of Carl Anthony Towns, and
no.
you don't want to let go of Anthony Edwards. So that is one place. What about Miles Bridges? Do you think Michael Jordan is going to pay him to stay, or is someone else going to cash out?
I think he's gonna end up staying with Charlotte. If I'm looking at the real estate for him, I think that his best option is probably sticking around in Charlotte. And I think that at the end of the day, negotiations be it they as they may. I think that's the best fit, and I think that at the end of the day, I think both parties will find something that they can both be happy with in terms of a deal, and keep that kind of core in place for at least a few more years.
All right, BJ, and last question. As a Mavericks fan, free agency wise, what point guard most interests you to pick up in the offseason? Goran Dragic or Gary Payton Jr.?
Oh, that's a good question because obviously when you talk about both, Dragic has the Slovenian ties with Luca, and there was the funny quote that came out the other day when they were both being at the press conference after a Team Slovenia game, and they said something about like they can't talk about whatever question was asked until like July 1st or whatever. I
Oh,
thought that
yeah.
was pretty funny. But I mean, anytime you got the talent that Gary Payton the second has, and I mean, he just won a title with the Warriors.
Yep.
Being able to get him would be huge and add to what is already a good young core that the Mavericks have put together. If they could get him, that would be great. But at the same time, I mean, I'm trying to give you an answer, but there is benefits to both because bringing in Dragic, you get another veteran leader that you might have lost in some of the moves that they have made in order to get Christian Wood. So there's both benefits to getting both those guys. I think if I had to choose, I would say Peyton, just
Mhm.
because he's younger. But I mean, I certainly wouldn't be upset if they made a move to try to get Goran Dragic in here.
I agree with the Peyton sentiment. I'd rather have Peyton mainly for defensive purposes.
Mm-hmm.
Good young guard, and I think if the Mavericks were to get Gary Payton Jr., that he would do a Danny Green that Danny Green did in 2019 and
Mm-hmm.
2020, where he won a title with the Raptors and then went to the Lakers and then won a title there. So he'd win his Golden State Warriors title and then win a championship with the Mavericks. That's my way too early hot take prediction for Gary Payton if he joins
Clip.
us. If he joins us. Um, but yes, all right, guys, it is time for BJ's best.
All right, we're just gonna keep it kind of routine and short this time because it's just a preview of what's to come. But Drew, I know you're not as big into baseball, but I found this
I'm into
story.
baseball. I'm
Not
pretty into
as
baseball.
not
I
as
just
much,
I
not as
have
much.
covered baseball.
I know
I
you
was
took
on
pictures over the
Globe
weekend.
Life Park Field.
Well, that's true. All right, so but do you make a habit out of watching games that are not the Rangers
I
during the
do not.
season?
I do not.
Okay, so
Just-
that's where we differ.
yeah.
I will watch games that don't just involve the Rangers because I enjoy this sport. So over the weekend, the Angels and the Mariners had a pretty heated series. You may have heard about this, but you
The
probably did
Mariners
not.
stink. I know that.
Oh, the Angels have kind of fallen off too ever since
That is
mid
true.
May.
But they have two MVP candidates.
That is very true as well.
But
And one
somehow
of
they
those
still stink.
one of those MVP candidates nearly got drilled in the back of the head on
Hey,
Saturday. Yeah,
whoa,
the Mariners threw one behind Mike Trout Saturday night, and that was
whoa.
coming off of a Friday incident that Taylor Ward of the Angels had gotten hit, and so the Angels were feeling a little bit PO'd, if you will, and
Mhm,
presumably justifiable. So
mhm,
on Sunday, the last game of the series, in the first inning, the Angels starter hits one of the Mariners, and both teams are warned. Okay, so they
mhm,
get the warning because they don't want to escalate anything any further.
mhm.
Well, top of the second inning, Jesse Winker leads off for the Mariners, gets hit in the behind with the first pitch, and the melee starts. I'm talking a full fist fight, brutal.
Ooh.
It's something that you don't see in baseball that often anymore, and it was just if you like seeing the teams come together, you got your money's worth. Well, I saw this story on Monday, so lost in all the fighting and everything um, was that there was a little girl there who's actually a Reds fan by trade. She's 7 years old. Her name is Abigail Courtney. Last year, she had gone to see the Reds play in San Diego, and Joey Votto, who is her favorite Reds player, had gotten ejected because he was arguing about check swing, and
Mhm,
so she cried. She was very upset because she didn't understand why he had to leave the game, why he had to why he wasn't going to be able to play, and
yeah.
she actually went viral as a result because she got upset. Well,
Yeah.
she was there again. So
Okay.
Jesse Winker is also a former Reds player, and well, when he got ejected, or when the fighting started, her mom said, he's not gonna be able to finish the game because that's pretty much an automatic ejection in baseball. That anytime you fight, you're not gonna be able to play in the rest of the game. So I read that and it's just kind of amazing to me how two times the past 2 years they've been there. Uh, One of the former Reds players, or in the case of Joey Votto's current Reds player, had been ejected. And she ended up getting a signed ball, and Jesse Winker said, "I'm sorry, I wasn't able to continue playing the rest of the game." But I keep reading, and this struck my attention, and this is why it ended up in BJ's best this week, Drew. Sophie Dill, who is a Mariners fan living in Arkansas, is a defender of Jesse Winker on Twitter. And so she enjoyed seeing how he stood up for the team on Sunday. She thought about, well, if he's the only one that's going to be in the visiting clubhouse all by himself, I need to do something for him. And so she tweets, "Can I order a pizza to be delivered directly to the visiting clubhouse at Angel Stadium?" And so, sure enough, she pulls up the DoorDash app and she goes ahead and orders a small pepperoni pizza from a pizza shop called Mountain Mike's, which is about 9 miles north of Angel Stadium. And she includes in the drop off note, Will you please deliver this pizza to the visiting clubhouse for Jesse Winker? And sure enough, believe it or not, it actually comes to fruition that the delivery driver pulls up to the park, goes around to find a security guard and say that this is for the visiting clubhouse for Jesse Winker. And as a result, the delivery driver got a whole lot of tips in the process from Mariners fans because he was
Oh heck yeah.
actually able and willing to do that. He actually had to make a PayPal or Venmo or something by Sunday night, and between 300 to 400 people had donated on Sunday to him,
Oh my.
and it was just for dropping off a pizza to the visiting clubhouse at Angel Stadium. And so I thought that was really just all kinds of how baseball has brought people together, and you know a fight on the field can lead to a lot of good happening to a delivery driver in what is definitely a tough time to be a delivery driver in this day and age. And that's, Drew, is why it made the list and why it is BJ's best for this edition
Yo,
of the Lowdown.
how many did you say donated?
Between 300 to 400 people donated. I'm trying to see if I can find
Jeez.
the amount of money. I don't know
Oh man. Even if
if
that's
it's
like
yeah,
even if that's $5 a person, that's $2,000 right there.
yeah, yeah.
If you're at the
So
peak 400, my
yeah,
goodness.
$405 a pop is
Man.
$2,000. So
Yeah, buddy.
man, that
Either
is
way, that's a
yeah, a
lot.
life changing delivery. And
That's
there's a
cool.
picture of him and his wife and their little child. I have it on my phone here.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
so
Oh,
I,
that's
I
cool.
if we were more special and able to put pictures on the screen, I would be able to do that. But anyway, so that's just a little sneak peek of what's coming in season 3, and I'm going to try to find some you know more maybe heartwarming. It won't always be that cool, but that to me, it was just like the best of humanity in you, if you will, and that's why it gets to be a part of the episode this week.
That is beautiful, my friend. Man,
Yes.
I hope I hope it was I hope they won that game. I hope that was a good game.
The
So,
Angels actually came back and won 2-1, believe it or not.
there we go.
But
Well, hey,
at the end of the day, Drew, it didn't matter who won on the field
that's right,
because a
because
lot
that
of people
delivery
won off the
driver,
field.
he won. That's right. Yeah. Well, whether that team won or not, the action keeps on rolling at DraftKings Sportsbook, especially this summer, BJ. Tons of ways to bet on all your favorite sports, even though you claim I don't like baseball too much. Uh, you can fuel your fandom and feel the heat of the season like never before. Plus, right now at DraftKings Sportsbook, it's giving new customers a risk-free bet up to $1,000. $1,000. That's right. Make your first bet up to $1,000, and if it doesn't win, you'll get another shot to cash it.
That's right, Drew. You can throw down on all the major action for baseball, golf. I know that the British Open or Open Championships coming up. LIV golf, if that's your thing, there's a lot of top golfers there. You can also look at some of those MMA lines and more. And with same game parlays, spreads, money lines, over unders, and props, your betting options feel endless, Drew. I know we were talking about some of the W games this weekend. I was liking, the Wings odds on Saturday or Friday, I beg your pardon, when they host the Sparks. But I actually did win a baseball parlay a few weeks back,
Okay,
5-team parlay.
there you
And
go.
so if you like the sport of baseball and kind of a little bit about some of the matchups, you can be a big winner too. And best of all, Drew, DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable. You can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want.
Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code TBPN. Make your first deposit and get a risk-free bet up to $1,000. That's promo code TBPN only at DraftKings Sportsbook.
Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. All right, Drew, we're keeping the same theme going. You said, what is the best thing that I saw? BJ's best. Well, Drew, I've just got one question for you. What's on Drew's mind?
Well, BJ and ladies and gentlemen, listening audience, there's always a lot on Drew's mind, so there will always be something for this segment. It will never go dry because there's way too much going on here. But today, in particular, this Wednesday in which we're recording, what's on my mind today is BJ. It's National Camera Day. Did you know that?
I did not know that, Drew.
It is National Camera Day. BJ, as you know, how I got started doing stuff at A&M Commerce was
Mm-hmm.
with a camera in my hand.
Yep.
Jasmine gave me a camera to take pictures for her for KETR, and that's how things started. I was shooting that eventual 2017 national championship
That's right.
Lion football team. That's how things
5
started for
years
me.
almost now.
Right. So photography and cameras, that's how I started in this
Mm-hmm.
media business. It's not necessarily how the journey's gone, but cameras have always been there. Photographed some really cool stuff. Like I said, 2017 national championship, a couple of FCS national championship games in
Yeah,
Division 1. You and I were at the Frisco Bowl.
that's right.
Um, and so a lot of adventures with the camera in sports. Dallas Wings games. Yeah, we could
Mm-hmm.
go on. We could go on. A lot of cool things with cameras. So cameras have been a part of my life more so in adulthood and college than the younger years. I loved a good picture. I love to keep a good photo.
Yeah.
Everybody posts them on Facebook. You got a good picture. Book a photo shoot with your favorite photographer. But just on National Camera Day, think it's a good time to more so appreciate our cameras out there. And I'm just gonna go through some of the main cameras these days, or not main cameras, but some of the cameras that are out there. Just a handful of cameras.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Starting with the number one most commonly used camera that I come across these days, and it's because it's pretty much the best.
Mm-hmm.
DSLR cameras.
Yeah.
A DSLR camera is a short form of digital single lens reflex camera. It is the most popular type of camera in the market. All professional photographers will have one DSLR camera in their kit. It is it is actually a combination of digital imaging sensor with a single lens reflex camera. The DSLR cameras come with a detachable lens, so you can change the camera lens based on the type of photography. If you are doing landscape photography, you can mount a wide angle lens, and for wildlife photography, a telephoto lens. BJ, recently I actually used this camera, this type of camera over the weekend, and I tell you what, it is a
That's right.
phenomenal experience. I had a big lens on there, a cool wrap graphic on it too that I was working with. So it was
Did you
a
feel like a
really
professional?
I did not feel like a professional because I'm not there yet. I felt cool holding it, got a lot of compliments about the camera, and took some really cool photos. One of my former youth pastor, who is a referee, local referee for youth leagues around the area,
Yeah.
and his son that was actually he was in eighth grade when I was a senior. I knew him growing up, and they were both refing the same game this weekend in the gym that I
Wow.
went and photographed the first basketball game that I went to. So they are one of the photos in my recent gallery. Which, if interested in that
Yeah.
gallery, just shoot us a DM on Twitter or something. I'll direct you to the gallery and check it out. But going through the rest of these cameras here, these other four, I wanted to talk also about point and shoot cameras. Kind of
Mm-hmm.
those simple small ones that see. I think a perfect example, if you're a person who likes movies and you enjoy Will Smith movies, I think they had one of these in Hitch.
Yeah,
At
I think
some
you're
point, I'm,
right.
I'm pretty sure because I think he pulled it up with one and took a picture with one. So you kind of know what a small little point and shoot camera looks like. Point and shoot cameras are compact cameras useful for people who want to capture vacation pictures or family pictures. Something quick that you're not gonna take that big DSLR with the giant
No.
lens that I had this
No.
weekend on vacation. These are for people who are not interested in photography and just want to capture images. So, like I said, for the vacation pictures, a cruise camera right there. They come with a fixed lens and variable focus length. You will not be able to get the telephoto reach in a point and shoot camera. Hence, it is the best camera for documentation purposes.
Well, let me ask you, Drew. I don't know if that article says anything, but with some of the newer phones that we've got on the market, would you say that the need for a point and shoot camera is dwindling as we get, more and more advanced technology with phones? Because I
Yes,
know I take a lot of pictures with my phone more so than I mean, I think we've got some professional cameras that because my granddad was big into photography actually, so he did. I think he's got a couple DSLR cameras from over the years, but I find myself more often, I've got a really good lens on my camera on my phone.
I would say yes. And it is on this list that I'm reading, and it is actually fourth
Okay,
in a total list of, I believe there's 12 here, but I'm not going through 12. I'm
okay,
only getting five of them, and
okay.
it is definitely on here. And I was gonna mention it, but yeah, I mean, phone cameras are coming out getting better and better. I mean, if you got the newest phone, you got a better camera than any little point and shoot camera, so you wouldn't need those as much nowadays, and you definitely wouldn't need the next one that I'm coming to nowadays because of point and shoot cameras and iPhones and good cameras like that. Next up, the third one I'm going to talk about, film cameras. It all
Yeah,
started with film cameras, BJ. During the early days of photography, we used film as the medium for record images. Later, film got replaced by the camera, sensor, and memory cards. The ISO part of the image comes as the film feature, so we need to change the film rolls according to our ISO needs. You can control the aperture and shutter speed in the camera. Now, camera manufacturers have stopped producing these types of cameras for photography because of lack of demand. Got nice iPhone
yeah,
cameras, you even got the point and shoot cameras. You don't need
yeah.
the film ones anymore. They're outdated.
Would
But
the film camera be like Polaroid, or is that a different? Because I
it
know
is
it's the
different.
instant.
It
Okay,
is different. We're getting to that's actually on the list. We're
all
getting to
right.
that later. But yeah, film, you got the point and shoot, you got your good phone. If you have a good phone, some people don't upgrade. So they would need a point and shoot. And if you're super old school, like, you just set in what your dad used to do or whatever, and I don't know, it's our dad's dad type of stuff. Those generations back, they'll be like, I'm
Yeah,
not gonna stop using this film camera. It's been so good to me, blah blah blah, whatever. It's the only way you'll see those nowadays. But
yeah.
next up, BJ, yes, it is the Polaroid.
Oh,
Polaroid camera. I
awesome.
love
Okay.
Polaroid cameras. I actually had a friend of mine who had a wedding a few years ago, and I think they had multiple Polaroid cameras out on the table for people to use, and people were posing for pictures with them. So Polaroids are super cool. Instant
Yeah, my
picture there.
my brother's girlfriend has one, and when he graduated, at about it's almost been 2 months now. It was in the early part of May. Uh, there were a couple pictures that were definitely taken with the Polaroid for sure.
And to answer this question, so a cell phone camera counts as a point and shoot camera? Not necessarily, but I mean it can be as good, if not better,
Hmm.
than a point and shoot
Yeah,
camera. Because like the latest iPhone 13 camera, that is definitely better than a point and shoot camera.
because
But
you can
mine
what
might
zoom
not
in
be.
on the you could zoom in on like the craters of the moon with those iPhone 13 cameras, right?
Those things are good.
Something like that. Yeah.
Those things are good. But continuing on, as the name suggests, instant cameras are capable of printing photos just after capturing them. That's why Polaroids are so well liked. It was Polaroid Corporation who introduced this type of camera to the market. Hence, these cameras are also known as Polaroids.
Hmm.
Duh. The earlier generation of instant cameras used films and they got replaced by paper prints. There are many different models of Polaroids, and other instant camera manufacturers. Kodak and Fujifilm are the other known manufacturers of instant cameras.
Yeah.
And last but not least, there's a bunch of interesting ones on this list, BJ, but I want to go to this one because it was really popular as I was in high school and it's still used for a lot of cool things nowadays. The fifth one on this list, my list, is a GoPro camera.
Oh yeah.
The GoPro camera. GoPros are always so cool. You see them in the little glass box. People have the straps on them, their
Yeah.
chest that go underwater with them and stuff. People bike with them. You've seen people attach it to helmets and things like that. They're awesome. They're so much fun. I wish I had one. They are action cameras slash GoPro cameras. They're known for their miniature size, capable of fitting into many places where it is tough to mount a normal camera. You can use this camera to capture images, record videos, and do time lapse photography. They come in with various mounting options. You can mount it on a helmet, like I said, wrist, body, like I said, on vehicles, or on clothing. There are camera housings which you can use to record videos underwater. That I said too. Ha! Most of the action cameras support 4K resolution. Certain action cameras allow you to connect it to your smartphone for remote triggering and live view. That stuff is cool.
Yeah.
GoPro and GoPro is one of the most well-known action camera brands.
Yeah, Drew,
Mm.
I actually had a GoPro a few years ago. I took some pretty cool pictures and video when I went to the UK for the first time. Um I didn't have as good of experience getting it to stay charged. I don't know if it was just I got defaulty one or whatever, but at least I was able to save video from the trip and everything like that to have for posterity.
Man, when you look at the hashtag National Camera Day on Twitter, you find so many cool looking cameras. Although some old school stuff people are posting,
Yeah.
like literal super throwbacks and how far they've changed over the years. Old Polaroids, new stuff, DSLRs. It's great. It's awesome.
Oh
Well,
yeah. I'm gonna have to
and
search some Twitter after this.
right, and hashtag National Camera Day was what was on Drew's mind today.
Awesome. Well, that was very interesting, Drew. It made me feel like I was back in a camera class at college almost.
Oh yeah, yes indeed. All right, BJ, coming up next, we got a lot of stuff to talk about here within the
Sure
WNBA.
do. Yes, Drew. Not only do we get the remainder of the All Star reserves announced, but you've got a very interesting topic here about former Wings and how they are thriving upon leaving Big D, if you will. Uh, leaving, getting out, and not being a part of the Wings anymore. So we want to go ahead and talk about the rest of the All Star teams that we mentioned the starters in last week's episode. Um, so I'm gonna get this list up here real quick. If you've got it in front of you, go ahead and hop in
Oof,
with me. But I do know that we've got Enrique Gumbawale was the only Dallas wing that was named to the All Star team as a reserve, and would have been a starter had it not been for the fan vote.
right, and unfortunately, to my demise, because you mentioned that she's the one Dallas Swing player that made it, and that was my
Yeah,
one miss on all the All Stars that were named. BJ is missing on Alicia Gray.
yeah,
I had Alicia Gray tabbed as a starter in my vote. It's arguable that she should have just made it in general,
hmm,
but that's the only vote I get is a starter vote. So I did the fan vote as well, but um, still, there were some questions about some snubs within this All Star team as well. But
yeah.
I connected on every other pick. Everybody else made it. The only one that didn't was Alicia Gray. So
And and
9 out of 10 is not too bad.
And she is listed as one of the biggest snubs if you go and look at some of the players that are
Yeah.
being talked about. Other names that are being mentioned as some snubs from the team include Indiana Fever guard Kelsey Mitchell, obviously Alicia Gray. Here's one person that said even though she hasn't been playing every game this year, this person Kevin Pelton named Elena Deladon is one of his starters, not
Yeah.
just should have been on the team, but as one of his starters. So that's those are some of the bigger names that were snubbed. Obviously, we got the rest of the reserves here. I don't know why this is not popping up in list form, but
All good. I do want to include someone else in the snubs, and that is Kelsey Mitchell, who is unfortunately suffering from Indiana fever fatigue.
oh gosh,
Getting no
all right,
love from
Lamar,
no
with the
love.
snub with the bad puns.
Hey, this is on point though. She's suffering
Yeah,
because of how bad the franchise has been since Tamika left. She was the
yeah,
first player since Tamika to have a Player of the Week award go to her, and she's got the most points scored in the league right now. And what can she do to get named an All Star? I'll tell you what, she's got to leave Indiana apparently, because she can put up as many points out there as she wants. But if they're not a winning team, finding any type of mediocre, like average success, then no player out there is going to get named to the All Star team anymore until they become a good team again, if they can do that. Whether
Yeah.
that's,
I,
Lynn Dunn is looking to turn things around. It's not going to happen overnight, obviously, but she's suffering from the fatigue of that team being bad for like 6 years
yeah.
now. So that's
I did say that she was one of the biggest snubs as well. Indiana, the only
yeah.
team that did not have a player named. Here are the remaining players I didn't get to mention: Ariel Atkins, Kalia Copper, Skylar Diggins Smith, Erica Hamby, Natasha Howard, Ryan Howard, Brianna Jones, Jewel Lloyd, Emma Mieseman, Enrique, of course, Alyssa Thomas, and Courtney Vandersloot.
And Kelsey Mitchell will all Well, 11 of the other teams in the WNBA have representation in the All Star game,
Mm-hmm.
aside from the Indiana Fever. And that's the one team where, arguably, in the guard category, should not be the case because of the way she's scoring. And even watching her in AU, I didn't think this kind of season was coming from her. And I didn't know what type of minutes she was going to play with all these new young rookies coming in, and
Yeah,
Lynn Dunn running the ship now, because Tiffany Mitchell's minutes have been significantly cut, but Kelsey is still hooping. But she's
yeah.
been quite the surprise. I was on the fence for voting for her. I did not, inevitably. If I could have had the voted for the reserves as well, had a second vote to send in, I would put
Mm-hmm.
Kelsey. I would put Kelsey on it for sure. Um, but she that's just what it is. Unfortunately, suffering from that Indiana fever fatigue. But BJ, with the rest of these reserves here, do you have any issues with anybody that made it?
No, I think it's just when you look at some of the names, obviously the snubs are the ones that stick out. I thought that pretty much everybody on the list was deserving, and in the case of players like Enrique, you make the argument that should have been listed as one of the starters as opposed to being a reserve. But I don't have a problem with anybody they name. There's a lot of love for the Aces, and as one of as probably at this point at least the best team in the league. Very well represented as you would expect, especially in the fan vote, which does count the most.
And those all stars out there, BJ, that's all without Chelsea Gray being named an
Yeah,
all star as
yeah,
well. So they have five all star caliber players out there for current actual all stars. There's things that people have been saying. People have made arguments about Kalea Copper.
mm-hmm.
She's a dynamic player, but people questioning whether it was an all star season so far. Has she played enough
Yeah,
games to be considered an all star? Things like that. People would replace her with Kelsey Mitchell, or
yeah,
and Alicia Gray. I think Ryan Howard. I voted for her, so I think she's justified in this position. Leading an Atlanta Dream team into a potential 7 or 8 spot. Steadying being a problem in the league with a team that we're thought going to be hanging out at the bottom with Indiana
yeah,
this year. Sloot not putting up big numbers, but leading the Sky along with Candace Parker once again.
mm-hmm.
Emma Mieseman in her first year in Chicago, All Star appearance. Brianna Jones. Brianna Jones is not going to be on the Connecticut Sun next year. Let me go ahead and just say that now. She is too good of a player. They're not going to be able to afford her next year. She's going to be starting somewhere else. She's going to be starting somewhere else.
Yeah,
Just want to put that out there. Natasha Howard has been one of the more effective defensive players in the league this year. She's going to be vying for Defensive Player of the Year, um, arguably right
yeah,
now. Hamby staying consistent, back-to-back All-Star appearances,
for sure.
and Enrique should have been a starter, but she's in there right now. But I don't have it. The only grievance I have is what we talked about in the previous episode, where Sue Bird, Sylvia Fowles is hers is justified. I just thought she might have been a game or two short, but I'm okay with her being named a starter.
Mm-hmm.
But if they're gonna do that honorary type stuff, which this kind
Add
of
another
feels like,
spot.
yeah, they shouldn't be starters. They shouldn't take away
Yeah,
from the starter position. They should make the roster, maybe extend it for this singular year,
yeah,
and then leave those other two starting spots open. That would fill in Arike Gumbawale and possibly, who would be the forward? Alyssa Thomas, maybe,
maybe. Yeah.
or Natasha Howard or something.
Hmm.
Somebody would fill in
Yeah,
that starting role instead.
and
But
maybe
that's the only problem I really got.
yeah, and maybe this year will be kind of like, okay, we messed this up this year. Let's not make this mistake. If something like this happens again, especially if DT comes back next year and announces it's going to be her final season, and somebody else, decides to retire that's of All Star caliber, a similar circumstance, but actually, you know, in their cases being part of the roster and honorary, but also having another spot as well.
Yeah, for sure. It's gonna be interesting though. But yeah, let's go ahead and shift gears into the main thing I wanted to talk about on the WNBA side
Hmm.
of things today, and that is the success that Dallas Wings or former Dallas Wings players have once they leave Dallas.
Yeah.
Um, I've got 7 names here where you can be like, yeah, they're doing better, and this is without really diving into their stats necessarily, like the
Hmm.
meat of it. But there's 7 players that I've found that have left the Dallas Wings that have had significant success since leaving the organization. And I've I have yet to come across a player that has left the organization happy. There's always been some type of grievance or some type of disdain towards it once they've left. Um, some we haven't heard from yet. One on this list, no, two actually, probably, maybe three. A few on this list we haven't heard from. Some we've heard from that have been very vocal about this team, and it's just trying to understand where it all stems from. I've got an idea. I won't get into the depths of it today, but just trying to understand why this is the only team that this really always happens to year in and year out. Like you get these
Yeah.
players, it's kind of like some things feel forced, and the players and the coaching staff are kind of forced to kind of go along with things, whatever is kind of thrown their way. They just have to roll with it and listen to whoever up top is telling them what to do, and how to go about the business. But I just wanted to talk about this today and talk about those players who have found success outside the organization. And we'll talk about one player who might end up being outside the organization and could possibly find some success as well. Let's start with one of the bigger stars that came through years ago and was here when I started covering the team in 2018, Liz Cambage. Liz Cambage has found
Yeah.
success in Vegas. She wasn't on the team that ended up going to the finals that year, but she's been a two-time All-Star since. She was an All-Star with us, but she's just kept up a good pace. Averaging good career numbers ever since, and is much happier in other spaces, and has been very vocal about her time in Dallas and what went wrong there. Another player I
Yeah.
want to talk about who has been quite vocal as well over the years, especially the year after she departed, when she eventually won a 2019 championship with the Washington Mystics, Ariel Powers.
Hmm.
Ariel Powers, that situation was, to me at the time, felt like it came out of nowhere, where it kind of blew up within the locker room mid-season, and the next day she is traded. So,
Yeah.
and like I said, next year with the Mystics, where she ends up landing after this trade, and the player that they got in return for trading Ariel away is not even in the league anymore. She ends up becoming a champion. Becomes a champion
Yeah.
with the Mystics. So that's big time. Next up, Azare Stevens. She's not, I mean, she's not any superstar player or anything like that. She's doing better. Her numbers are better. She's been healthy, in her new landing spot in Chicago, and recently became a WNBA champion.
There you go. Yeah.
Another champion after they have left the
Yeah.
organization just a few years later. And Next up, one of the former face of the team, recent one that put this team to bed this past weekend, Skylar Diggins Smith,
Yeah, I
two-time
was gonna say
All-Star,
Skylar Diggins Smith.
two-time All-Star, and a Finals appearance since she's left. Doing pretty good out there. I mean,
Yeah,
thriving.
yeah,
Loving
and
it out there.
it's funny. I mean, Aerial Powers has had better numbers. I looked, ever since she left Dallas, Drew,
Yep.
as has, you could argue, Skylar Diggins Smith. I mean, I think
And
Cambage is the only
Desiree.
one that hasn't, yeah, that has not had as good numbers wise. But you'd probably say that it's not necessarily that's not
She's
the be all and end all.
Yeah, and she's remained consistent. That Dallas season was an
Hmm.
outlier to where she was the
Yeah,
number one option and a number two in MVP voting player. So that was kind of
yeah,
an outlier season where she went crazy under Fred. But
yeah.
yeah, continuing on, finals appearance for Skylar. Next up,
Hmm.
Katie Lou Samuelson. She's found some
Hmm.
success, and she's bounced from team to team since, but she's played better at both landing spots. I mean, she played fine in
Yeah,
Seattle. She scored more points per game in Seattle, shot pretty well, and now averaging a career high 10 points per game in LA.
yeah,
And she is also a 3x3 gold medalist now, along with our own Alicia Gray. So finding good things and having good things happen to her. I mean, 3x3 is kind of an outlier to the WNBA as far as, success in the league goes. But, she's scoring twice as much as, twice as many points per game as she was when she was here. And, she's a starter, I believe, consistently out there and or at least has a consistent role to where she's utilized often and not underappreciated like she was here. She was brought to be a shooter, wasn't utilized as much, real
yeah.
situations, and has found some successes elsewhere. Could find more as one goes along. That's probably
Would
some of the least success that out of all these has been found so
Yeah.
far.
Would you say that was just like kind of the bubble season, and you can kind of justify throwing that one out?
No, I don't. I'm not gonna be like other people and not count the bubble
Hmm.
year. Whether it's
Yeah.
NBA or WNBA year. I think it still counts. It's still basketball.
Yeah.
And I won't penalize players that weren't there.
Yeah.
But no, I won't think it's that. I don't think it's that. Next up,
Hmm.
Dana Evans. Dana Evans. We heard about her in the headlines early this season. Helping out the Chicago Sky. I believe she
Yeah.
scored a career high early in the season, 24 points. Never had those opportunities here. Was kind of in a Chelsea Dungy-ish role, just kind of riding, the bench, keeping it warm down the line there. Unfortunately, and didn't get those opportunities here. But once she was shipped to Chicago, she was used in a backup point guard role and she was a backup point guard for an NBA championship or a WNBA championship team in Chicago Sky. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
she's a WNBA champion, already. She won it as a rookie. I mean, she reached the peak of the W with a championship in her first year, just a couple of months after being traded away by the Dallas Wings. So
Yeah.
found the most immediate success, even quicker than
Def.
Ariel did
Yeah.
after leaving.
Definitely.
And last but not least, one that was recently let go this season and found some history made in her new place last night. Mariah Jefferson. Mariah
Hmm.
Jefferson, in a way, is a kind of a complicated situation because when you look at Mo Jeff, over the years when she came into Dallas, they had a bag of money ready for her at her feet to come in. Okay, good little point guard, and San Antonio. What's she gonna offer here once healthy? Who knows? Let's find out. Okay,
Hmm.
didn't get much action that first year. Only played 9 games. You know, next year, 2021, she played a decent bit of games. 29 games in 2021. But I mean, she had those injuries when she came in 19. She came in 19, missed, didn't play the rest of the season. Only played 9 games in 20, then she was out the rest of the season. Played a lot last year. I'll give her that. And, you know, she never got the chance to do anything earlier when they wanted to see what she was made of because she couldn't stay healthy. By the time she was kind of healthy last year, the opportunity wasn't there because we had so many young bucks ushered in via the draft that there was no real opportunity for Jefferson to prove her contract.
Yeah.
So she never got that opportunity. and was let go early this season with Dallas after just a game.
Yeah.
Um, and now she's in Minnesota. She got the first ever career triple double for the Minnesota Lynx last night.
Yeah.
13, 10, and 10, and a blowout victory over the Dallas Wings.
Hmm.
Sweet,
Yeah.
sweet justification right there. And she is
Absolutely.
also in the most improved player conversation for this season because of the opportunity that she has garnished in Minnesota now and thriving in it since she's been healthy this season. She's averaging the most points per game she has scored since her rookie season at 13, just under 14 points a game. What she had in her rookie year got 13.4 right now. Shooting her second best percentage from the field, I believe, and shooting her second best career percentage from three,
Hmm.
career high in assists. She's playing well and
Yeah,
career
and the
high in
Lynx are
rebounds
playing
too.
better too as of
Yeah.
late.
So I mean, she's found success in just as immediate, not as monumental as
Yeah.
a Dana Evans or a Aerial Powers, but she has
Hmm.
found success and opportunity in Minnesota outside Dallas.
And
What
Ariel
am I?
Powers drew 13 of her 20 points came in that first half, and she
Yeah,
played it last night for Minnesota. And again,
yeah,
another kind of revenge game for both of them.
yeah. AP was cooking last night,
Hmm.
and I found it offensive with watching the game when she was going to I think she hoisted up and made her first three. I was watching the Dallas broadcast. Ron Thurlin, he laughed like when she had put up that three and made it. Like I know she's had a tough year percentage wise, and the Lynx aren't going to be any type of dynamic playoff team probably, but to laugh after she's
Yeah.
hoisted that up, pretty disrespectful. And also to a player that used to be here that probably isn't gonna know about that unless I'm bringing this up. But I was just annoyed that he kind of had like a when she made the three. I was like, I hope she is cooking. I hope she cooks us tonight after that. That's what
Mm.
made it even sweeter when she ended up with 20 on us and le- led the game in scoring. So I'm okay with that. But it's been a theme for Dallas players that have come through here. They haven't had opportunity here, or they haven't had the best time, and they've departed and gone elsewhere and found success. There's
Yeah.
been a lot of question marks around a lot of players on this team as to whether or not a lot of these players should do the same thing. A lot of Gamecock fans are gunning for Ty Harris and Alicia Gray to find a new home and be happy somewhere
Yeah.
else. Um, Free Charlie Collier, who's the number one pick previously and not getting a lot of playing time any run here. Really giving
Yeah.
up, really gave up on her so very quickly last season after drafting her. Who's what's to make of Bella Allery when she comes back? Does she have a place on this team? A lot of players that could find a better home elsewhere that or and examples of players that have just what's the issue here? Why does it
I,
continue to be the only kind of outlier team that constantly has problems? Players leave, they're unhappy when they leave, and they're so much happier and successful elsewhere.
well, I mean, you can't really blame it on coaching because there's been, what, three coaches the past few years, Drew, since you've been
Yeah,
starting covering the team. So if it's consistent throughout coaching changes, then you've got to look, at a higher level. And I mean, I don't know if that's necessarily the problem. If it's that the ownership doesn't want to, you know, put more and invest more into the team to try to get them playing at the top of their level, like they go on and make them happy while they're here and playing at their highest level. I don't know.
I
It's
think
it's
there's
really
I
go
think
ahead.
it's a rift between upper management and head coach between like what each other want at the end of the day.
Hmm.
When one's coming in wanting a job, they want a job. We're going to come
Yeah,
in, I want to try and build this young team. I want to try and win a championship with this young team.
yeah,
All the stuff you're going to say to get your job.
yeah,
And then when it comes to a press conference and, some coaches are like, yeah, I want to be focused on defense. I want to play fast. And then upper management goes and trades for a big that is not fast or good in
Yeah.
space, can defend, but it's not going to fit the bill of playing fast and at this pace that this coach wants to play at. So just kind of doing whatever they want, regardless of what the coach is trying to illustrate, and
Yeah.
just
And
getting
so it's
talent
just
instead of particular personnel that mesh.
yeah. It's the scheme, and is there a little bit of a disconnect probably
There's your word.
with the management and the coaching staffs, and that's where I would say you look for the structural integrity. That's probably the some hollow wood. If you're looking to you know build up the house, you got to start at at the foundation, and if that is a weak foundation, you're never going to be able to reach the attic, aka the top.
Right. And we're just gonna have to see how things pan out, and if that theme continues after this off season, probably some of the same players won't be here. Going into the next year, especially with regards to training camp and those tough cuts that
Yeah,
happen every year. But yeah, it's an unfortunate theme that only is kind of sticking in Dallas and not really being a consistent theme as much anywhere else. I get it.
yeah.
People are in bad scenarios, or they go from being a number two option to being a number one option, and they're great at being a number one, or they go from
Hmm.
the pressure of a number one to being a number two, and they play better, or they
Yeah,
they go from a two to a three and they play better, or whatever.
yeah,
Those situational things that happen. But when you have a theme like this, to where not only are they finding success, but they're significantly happier as
yeah.
well. Then
Consistent. Yeah.
yeah, it's you don't like to have that consistent theme
No, that's not the
labeled.
consistency you want.
That's not what you want labeled on your franchise. But anyway, BJ, I think it's time for some with it or quit it.
Yeah, it's time for a game called With It or Quit It. If you're new to the
Whoa,
show, well, you've got 50 some odd episodes to catch up on to find out how we play this game. I'm going to give Drew 5 opinions, and he's going to tell me if
opinions.
he's, well, they could be opinions. It's questions,
Thought there were questions.
whatever. You want questions? I've got a formed in question. Okay. All
Okay,
right. Okay. So I'm going to give him 5 questions, and he's going to tell me if he is with it or if he's going to quit it. Drew, you ready?
bring it on.
All right, Drew. Number one, we talked about this during BJ's best.
Oh,
The fighting in baseball and
yeah,
everything like that.
yeah, I remember
Well,
it.
the question is, Drew, each team should be allowed to have one fight without having to worry about lasting consequences like a suspension or anything. Are you with it? Or are you going to quit it?
Um, yeah, fight it out with it. I'm with it. That's the main reason I want to go see a hockey event live. Is hope I get to catch a fight. So just
Yeah.
let them fight it out. Like they used to let them duke it out in other sports.
Yeah.
Basketball, Kobe and Chris Childs. Uh, um, yeah, let them fight it out for a second, especially if they're throwing at your guy. Be like, hey, we're not gonna be down for that. That just be kind of a one like a warning type fight.
A
But the
warning
second,
fight. Yeah.
but the second time, you can drop the hammer down, like you've been warned.
I'm looking
I'm
at the
with it.
chat, and Cam is with it as well, and he's a big
Yeah,
baseball guy, as we established earlier. So I'm also with it, Drew. I think if you put some limitations on it, like it can only be like the last game of a series, and that way it's not continuing to bubble over or anything like that, or what have you. That could be fine too. But I think that would help get some of that rage and testosterone out if it's necessary. So,
yeah.
all right, Drew, number two. So this is a little bit of a little more odd, but if you're going somewhere, the journey is the best part of the destiny of the trip as opposed to the destination. So are you basically for enjoying the route, taking your time, or do you want to just get there with it or quit it?
Is there a plead
But
the fifth option? It almost kind of depends. Life, yes, the
if
journey. Um, a 4 hour car drive that hurts my back. I don't enjoy that journey. I don't enjoy that trip.
Well, I mean, it also
uh,
depends on where you're going. It's like if you wanted
oh
to
man.
see something on the way there, it might be better to drive it as opposed to
Okay.
riding.
Yeah, I mean, like I've had cool views like on a trip before. Like I leave in Hot Springs, Arkansas, and going back to my first college in Arkansas. I mean, cool views of the mountains and
Hmm.
everything. That
Yeah.
journey was cool. I don't know. I guess in general, probably I'm gonna say with it.
Okay.
Just I guess looking at it from the life perspective, the journey of getting to where you is, more. It's about the journey, not the final destination, but how you got there.
Yeah.
All the good stuff that comes with getting there. Yeah, yeah, I'm with it. Yeah, we'll
All
rock
right.
with
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, I'm with it too. I mean, I have flown in the past and versus doing their car trips, but I think the unpredictability uh, of like where you need whether if you got to stop at some point, you never know like where you're going to stop or what you might see along the trip. I think that's what keeps it fresh and surprising is that each trip could be different, even if you're going to the same destination every time.
Cam in the
So
chat says too, or he's with me. It definitely depends. Like I said, like
yeah.
it just depends on like where you're going. If you're talking about
Yeah,
life, then yeah, I like the little journey of getting there. Like it's,
yeah,
I've had an interesting life, so
absolutely, Drew.
the journey will be a cool story. But like I don't know, some situations it's like I'd rather just be there.
All right, Drew. Number three, another baseball question, and
Oh
again, I
man,
know you were
he
talking
does
about.
like baseball. He's trying
I
to
was
hammer it
trying to
home.
think. I
You
was
will
trying to
love
think. Not
baseball by the
well.
end of
So
this episode. Oh,
well, I was just trying to think what is peak right now. Now that the NBA has ended, the NHL has ended. We do have WNBA as well, obviously. But I did want to, throw a curveball or change it up a little bit with the
you
way
can
that I
throw a
put it.
curveball.
I could try. It's not going to be a good curveball, but it'll be one of those 58 and a third breaking pitches where it bounces in front of the plate if I even get it there.
Mine will curve.
So,
It'll get there tomorrow.
all right, Drew, your Texas Rangers should plan to build, aka add pieces at the trade deadline rather than sell for more prospects. With it or quit it,
Ooh, buy or sell. Hmm.
basically.
I should buy rather than sell.
You've seen
Mm.
the Rangers start. They're around 500. They are still in the thick for a playoff spot. Obviously, their future is more so down the road here in the next couple of years. But if you could open it up a little bit early without having to sacrifice too much, do you do it?
Well, I mean, I don't. It's really kind of a tough question because they've been on a skid lately. It's been kind of ugly. Um, I don't know what the result of. I think they played yesterday and they're playing right now, maybe.
Yeah, they
But
they've won two in a row
But
out in
pre
Kansas City.
before these two losses, they were 9 of their last 11 they had dropped. So I mean, I don't want them to sell at the deadline. That's for sure. I
Hmm.
guess I would say with it because I'd prefer them buy rather than sell. But I don't even know if I want them to do anything at the deadline
Just
anymore.
continue to stand right there.
Yeah, it just depends. Like if something, something easily available is there, and you can just grab it and add to your team, then cool.
Hmm.
Like yeah, add to the bullpen. Taylor Hearn's probably going to stay there, so they might need a starter. So they probably will have to add, unless they think someone else they have in their lineup can replace Taylor in the starting lineup, which I don't think they
Yeah.
have that right now. They're talking about. I think they said, oh man, oh I don't want to pretend I know who it was. I'm gonna take that back now. But
Well,
yeah, I'd say I'd prefer them buy than sell. So with it for sure.
they are working on converting Hearn into a long inning reliever kind of guy. So somebody that might not start a game, but would come in and eat up significant innings.
And his numbers are better as a non-starter as opposed to a starter as well.
Yeah, we had a chance to see him Saturday against Washington. He looked pretty good. He had four no hit innings against the Nats, and so I
Yeah.
mean, I'm for that move. There's a lot of talk with what they're going to do with Martin Perez because of how
Keep
good
him.
he's been. I know that's the worry is that they will try to add some more pieces to next couple years, despite having a really good chance if they keep him this year. Even if it doesn't, this is not going to be their year to win it all, but
Oh.
keeping him around would help. I feel like in terms of getting to that playoff spot. So, all right, Drew, number four. It is better to be too cold than too hot. With it or quit it.
All right, this is definitely a personal preference question.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I would probably say I'm gonna say too cold. So with it,
Mm-hmm.
too cold because you can put on more clothes, you can't take more off.
That's
So like
exactly my argument.
yeah, so like during the summer, this excruciating like 106 and 100 plus heat we're having, you can only do so much, and you have to like constantly have your stinking, AC on to cool your place off because it's so
Yeah.
hot. It's so hot at my place. I don't even have cold water. My faucets are so warm. Um,
Mm.
but yeah, I definitely probably say that. Even though I don't have the best winter clothing. If I had better winter clothing, I probably love winter, to be honest, and the cold.
Yeah.
But eh. Um, I'm still with it though. I'm still with it. I'd rather be cold, be pretty cold, and just put more bundle up on than just be increasingly hot.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, Drew. I mean, I can't take layers of skin off when I get too hot because that's one, it's not good, and two, it's just not possible.
You'd
So
be a
you
human
can't.
snake if you could.
But I don't know any other way as to cool down because once you get, to your birthday suit, if you will, then
Hey,
you can't take anything else off. So, all right, Drew. Last but not least, number five.
number
I'm gonna
five.
shift gears. I'm gonna get you on the record with this right now. Before leaving for the SEC, the Texas Longhorns football team is going to win the Big 12 once more. With it or quit it.
Oh my! Say that again.
Before leaving for the SEC, the Texas Longhorns football team will win the Big 12 one more time, at least.
In any sport?
Just football.
Oh,
Just the football team.
quit it.
Ooh.
Quit it.
And this is coming from the Longhorn fan himself.
I know. I don't know. I gotta see it first. I gotta see it first. I can't, I can't do it. I gotta see it.
Drew, I'm going to tell you, I think this is the best chance they've had in a few years to do it.
Yeah,
I
but
think this
yeah,
season.
I still, hard. Yeah, yeah, yep, yep. That's what I'm saying, dude. You can't believe in Texas. They're college Dallas Cowboys. More of what I've been hearing lately are college Dallas Cowboys. And until they
Well,
prove to you that they're not, then they are.
Dallas Cowboys still win their conference, if you will, their division.
But
So
but the
just because they
Cowboys
haven't,
always disappoint you, and so do the Longhorns.
true. But with the talent they've got this year, if it doesn't happen, then there must be a hex or something. I'm
Mm,
telling you, the
yeah,
talent they've got this year, this is probably their best chance they've had since Mac Brown retired, or
let's
well, left but
well,
retired the
let's
first
hope
time.
we stink and do something with it then. That'd be real nice.
That's with it or quit it, Drew.
Yes, it is, BJ. Good stuff. And that is the show, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you guys enjoyed the news segments. Feel free to DM us on Twitter and let us know how you feel about the news segments. Make sure you guys are liking the video over on YouTube. Check those things out on YouTube. The live streams are there as well as clips each week. Instagram is popping as well. Give us a follow on both Twitter and Instagram at the underscore lowdown. That's THA underscore lowdown on both Twitter and Instagram, guys. And drop those follows on Twitch and YouTube for you guys that are checking out the live streams right now. If you're not already, make sure you host up when we're doing these live streams over there on Twitch. Uh, get us hosted up over there and drop those subs on YouTube. Appreciate guys for coming to hang out today. Everybody that's come through in the chat that's been talking to us. Nate, it's here. Cam, uh, so it's been fun. I hope you guys enjoyed the new segments. We certainly did.
Yes.
This was definitely fun to put together and to do today. So, got more coming, and we'll have another additional wrinkle in season 3 as well that will be going on during the fall. So be on the lookout for that. Extended versions of BJ's best and what's on Drew's mind coming full out in season 3. We'll keep previewing it for you though for the rest of season 2. So in the meantime, we'll catch you guys later. We'll be back next week with another fresh episode of the Lowdown. And you guys be easy. Any final words, BJ?
Not much. Just saying thanks for listening as always, and we always appreciate it. And have a great day.
Yes, indeed. You guys all have a great day. This is going to debut here at the usual time. We'll catch you guys same time next week. Well, no, I take that back. It probably won't be. We'll let you know. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram. See you guys.
Peace.